Everyone, I had a senior moment. I'm not doing closing comments. We have one more panel, and I would recommend you stick around for it. Noel's going to bring his panel back to the stage, and we're going to discuss automation and innovation in law firms and the corporate legal departments. Welcome back to the stage, Noel.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We have another international cast of panelists for our final session, I think, of the whole event, which is corporate legal. So just to quickly introduce people, we have Teodora Bobcheva, coming from Bulgaria, Filip Ivanov. We have from Spain, Paul Handel, and from Prague, Jarmila Hanzelova. And Jarmila had her Christmas party last night, so she's looking good. So just to kick off, I will kind of go around the table. We'll start with you, Teodora. Can you just introduce yourself, give us some background to your company, and kind of why you were looking at document automation?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Teodora. I'm a lawyer and a barrister, and I'm with more than 15 years of experience, and currently I'm working and acting as an outsourced in-house general counsel for a large European IT company that's called Scale Focus. So I started as a legal trainee, and I'm really into legal tech. So apart from the traditional general counsel responsibilities, I also manage and direct legal processes in the legal department, and also develop strategies for generating value to the company. So one such stream is basically scaling, automation, and innovation.
Great, thank you very much. And Filip?
Thank you. My name is Filip. I'm the co-founder of Comantis. We are a consultancy and implementation company. We are a partner of Legito, proud partner of Legito, and we focus in 4 particular areas: sales, partnerships, legal tech, and operations automation. And we help companies accelerate their business velocity by enabling them with the most advanced out-of-the-box systems on the market.
Great, thank you. Jarmila?
My name is Jarmila Hanzelova. I'm attorney and head of knowledge management division at PRK Partners. PRK Partners is one of the biggest local law firms. We have about 100 lawyers here in Prague, Ostrava, and also in Bratislava, Slovakia. I started my career as a trainee and later on attorney, a transaction attorney, and I spent many years in client service, but last couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years, I've dedicated my energy into knowledge management and internal matters of our law firm, and I am currently responsible for deployment of various legal software, and I'm spending a lot of time with our staff, talking to our staff, and I'm also spending a lot of time with our vendors, and I'm combining the skills of the practicing lawyer and also some of the talents I've probably inherited from my family, because I come from an IT family. My father is a cyber engineer, so I happen to be able to combine those 2 worlds together.
Great, thank you. And finally, Paul?
Yes, hi, how are you? My name is Paul. I'm a lawyer. I'm head of legal technology and partner of Ecija, which is a Spanish law firm. Although we have offices in several cities of Spain, we do also have presence in many countries of Latin America. We are around 950 lawyers in all. And I am in charge of the legal tech department. And it's very interesting because I work with law firms. Of course, I work at a law firm, but also implementing technology at a law firm. But also we launched a very innovative service that we help our clients, also corporate legal departments, innovate and implement legal technology. So we help them discover what are their requirements, what are their needs, their bottlenecks, and then help them match or find the best legal tech solution that will fit their needs, and then helping them in all the part of implementation. So it's been really, we started like a year and a half ago, and we have helped many clients do that, start that digital transformation. And also I'm a professor of legal tech at IE University in Madrid, and I am a co-director of a legal technology lab in Valencia.
Great, thank you, Paul. Theodora, if you could just give an outline in terms of what pain you're experiencing and why you kind of engaged Philip Skills to go out and find you, a solution that you didn't even know existed at the time.
Yeah.
To give us a background. That's quite an interesting story.
So I deal with issues that everywhere experiences on a daily basis. So as you can imagine, contract negotiation is one of the most pleasant activities for the salesperson, and they would very often hand this pleasant work to us, even though it was one and the same contract as always every time. And once the negotiation starts, then you have a fluctuating number of stakeholders that get involved in different intervals throughout the process. So basically, when you don't have predetermined responsibilities, then decision-making is very slow and bureaucratic. So the lack of control over a simple Word document gave me no guarantee that someone won't mess up with the contract with the intention to push the deal faster, and thus exposing the company to an unjustified risk. So as you can imagine, we wasted a lot of time in document comparing versions, and we would easily get overwhelmed after the second iteration. Also, the communication with clients back and forth via emails meant for us that we had very valuable information that was scattered across several mediums. And I won't even go into the time wasted in formatting and styling, because spending more than 20 minutes in populating one and the same data like company name, company address, representative in multiple input fields never will be basically justified or pleasant activities, or will be frustrating and will never bring any value. So at the end of the day, I realized that when doing legal work, legal teams are involved in legal operation even though they may not recognize it. So we struggle with mundane tasks, and we very often don't address them simply because we think that this is the way it should be, this is normal. I also had the same mindset. But the business consultant who I work very closely with basically made me realize that there are people like you that have already solved these issues.
Okay, so that actually brings me on to the next question very nicely, Philip. So Theodora approaches you, she says, I've got all this pain, I don't even know there's anything out there that can solve my pain.
Right.
How did you go about finding Legito?
Yes, I mean, that is a very interesting task, because obviously first thing we need to do is the analysis and the scope. So scoping such a project, first thing we need to kind of like consider, I mean, she's dealing with 7 departments, actually 11 data streams. So it's very important for me to make sure that I know all the data streams, all the particularities behind her operational everyday work. Then out of that, I extracted keywords such as document automation, content assembly, that I searched for in the internet, and Legito was the first thing that popped up. And introduction video was very easy to understand. It gave me exactly what I think I needed, but I wasn't sure. So I tested it. I was very happy to see actually that there's a 3rd-day free trial. Yeah. I tested it, and then I said to myself, well, is that the best solution? So I went around. I tried other things like Precisely, PandaDoc, and I found out that the flexibility that Legito provides and the comprehensive solution that it provides doesn't match any other. And I thought, well, this is actually the case. And I think the most interesting and the most, I'll say the feature that I like most is actually the editor. Because it was the first time that I created a functional interface just by dragging and dropping. It was just very much different from all the others because it was structured.
Yeah.
I could easily understand it, and I could say, well, I can build something great with this.
That's great, thank you, Philip. So just on the subject of stories, Amila, can you just give us some background just about your journey into document automation from the public service that you actually provided, I think it was via Walters Kluwer back in the day, to actually implementing Legito for your internal requirements. So that was quite interesting.
Well, we started our first bigger document automation project in 2017, and it was a common project with Wolters Kluwer, which is a publisher of literature for lawyers, and we had some cooperation with them before, and for a while we were considering whether or not to start a document automation project, the aim of which would be setting up a platform, internet platform with automated legal documents. Actually this came true, and we built up websites called www.vzornepravo.cz, and on this platform our end customers, end users who are not lawyers, can fill out simple legal documents from various areas, including civil law, corporate law, GDPR and others. And this was we've learned a lot throughout this project. We've learned how to work with our first document automation software. We've learned about project management as we went along, obviously. And we are happy that we could have gone through that, and thanks to this experience we knew this was something we want to put forward also for our corporation, for our internal clients, for our lawyers, and for our external clients as well. And that was the reason why we start searching after other legal tech providers, and because of that experience, practical experience we had with the software we were using for this first project, we generally knew what we were after and what we wanted for us, and we tried out several solutions and chose Legito. Yeah, and we started in-house implementation after that. Yeah.
Great, it's just an interesting journey that you provide in these services externally, and then when you decided to do it internally.
So our way was probably very different from the way of other corporations, but that was the way it was.
Great, thank you. So just on to some of the benefits, and I'll ask this question to Theodora. Could you just give us a little bit of a highlight of the benefits that you've gained? I know you've integrated Legito with Salesforce, and you're working a lot of innovation to address risk management and timelines, most negotiated clauses and all the analytics and all that good stuff. I do actually have a slide here which I'm hoping is relevant.
So, sure. So, we have implemented the entire scope of Legito features, and currently we use the system within 7 departments, which is sales, back office, risk management, subcontractor management, HR, and legal. So after a couple of weeks after the implementation, I would literally feel that my workload dropped by half. So it took me less than 15 minutes even to draft a document where it takes me like 1 hour or 2 hours to do this. So basically it's been since a while that I have not been allowed by any typos or wrong references that we ever deal in the contracts, and I have completely forgotten about formatting. Of course, I can talk about such benefits of Legito, but the most valuable thing that I get from Legito is basically that I have total control over content, workflow processes, and of course, customer journey. So when you have the freedom to basically manage these three aspects, then other benefits that are previously hidden start to surface from the system. For example, we reduced basically the time for drafting to signing by 5 times. We also discovered the most often accepted clauses by clients, so we basically unified the language across all documents. And having the extra time and getting more familiar with Legito, I decided to take it to the next level, and I asked my team to integrate it with our CRM Salesforce. So we have bidirectional communication flow, and this gives us the ability to basically create documents in Legito from Salesforce. So in this case, we have data imported from Salesforce into newly created documents in Legito, and vice versa, where we have the ability to pull data into Salesforce basically from external records in Legito. So we just keep data consistency. Of course, one of the most used feature, I guess this will be a surprise, but one of the most used features for us is the timeline, because we interaction between the colleagues and the clients, and we use it to understand the delays in our business velocity. And we took it even so far that we basically use the follow-up instruction as a risk management tool. So what we do is basically we created a risk matrix by using the conditions between the main document and the follow-up instructions. And basically when you create a document, then you have the calculated risk below the document, and then you can email it to the supervisor for approval. And of course, as Sondra said 2 years ago, I really like it. Platformization is really the way forward. This means that basically all useful features and their time saving, they're under one roof, and they are governed by one goal and ideology that is optimum user experience with maximum business impact. And this is what I really need and seek for, and this is basically what Legito gave me.
Great, well thank you, that's an excellent use case. Paul, just want to kind of widen the conversation here, just in terms of some of the lectures you give in universities, etc. But just in your opinion, how does document automation fit within contract lifecycle management?
Yes, that's a very, very interesting question. Contract lifecycle management involves more things than just technology. It involves a lot of a combination of best practices and process engineering. For example, having templates, having class libraries, playbooks for contracts and negotiations, having cleared, for example, who's the owner of each contract or of each important clause, who must approve the contracts in each circumstances. And I think that once you have all those things figured out, it will depend, of course, on the size of the legal department. You can start thinking about document automation. And I think document automation expands and enhances everything you just did before. Having, for example, the templates automated gives you, reduces a lot of time of drafting the agreement. It also reduces the contract turnaround. This is something that is in the mind of every business division. It also helps you reduce or eliminate human risk at all. And this translates into dedicating less time in reviewing the agreements, right? Because sometimes a lot of things that you are reviewing are generated because you committed mistakes in the authoring part. So at the end, every thing good that you can do at the beginning of each stage, will definitely help the next stages. Another thing that helps a lot in document automation is that you increase a lot consistency of the agreements using the templates, and that helps you, again, in another stage, having consistency in your agreements. That will help you, for example, in obligation management, because you'll have more homogeneous obligations, consistency of obligations along all your agreements, instead of having to review each agreement individually to figure out what obligations you assumed. Also, and I think this is a very important part in thinking about where the futures in document automation or legal tech concerning contracts, is that you have structured data since inception of the agreement, right? Because if you author an agreement using a tool like Legito, you would have a lot of values to those variables already structured, and from there you can do lots of things. You can do reporting, you can do compliance, you can do obligation management, and in that way you won't require artificial intelligence later to extract that information from unstructured data that you have in agreement. So having a lot of agreements prepared in a document automation system, definitely it's paramount to contract management. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Paul. Philip, I'll move the conversation back to you. Just a little bit of an outline on the documents and processes that you've automated.
Yes, absolutely. That ties in great with what you just said. So the structured data is I think it's a game changer.
Yeah.
I would suggest that everybody start with, of course, the front-facing documents. Well, the first one is the NDA. We started with that. We automated that. It was a very easy adoption. And we moved over to things like, wait a second.
Like a customer.
Framework agreements, right? Yeah. Then we built packages for subcontractor management. And then we moved over to things like professional services agreement with over 60 variables. And these are all self-servicing tools. So technically, one of the first adoptions that we did was the NDA, as I said. Then later on, when we started doing the subcontractor management packages, it was very self-serving. And at the end, when we started working a couple of weeks into this, we saw that structured data. We saw that feedback that we got from that structured data, which was really amazing.
Great. Jarmila, could you just give us just explain the two use cases that you use Legito for? So, in particular, anti-money laundering and your business lines, and also in the first case, your role with the Bar Association.
Okay. Well, we are using Legito not only for client templates, but we are trying to improve our internal processes through Legito templates. We've set up templates for engagement letters and pitches, and recently also for our anti-money laundering obligations. Within PRK, I'm responsible for this internal compliance too, and maybe if there are some lawyers in the audience, they know that anti-money laundering stuff is not the most popular one, because it imposes a lot of obligations on lawyers, and it creates a lot of administration, which we don't really like, and plus it's not always easy to really remember what sort of evidence to keep here and there, and that's why we were trying to think how we could support our attorneys in this compliance procedure, and then we tried to use Legito for this, and we were very excited about the result, because we could put all the options, we could build in our internal policy to show various ways where the process can lead you to, and we were even so excited about the result that we wanted to share it with other attorneys, and we approached the Czech Bar Association And we said to them, look, we have this template which we think is great, and aren't you interested in sharing it amongst the attorneys via your websites? And in the end, it didn't take more than a couple of months before we actually launched this, and you can see our Legito anti-money laundering template slightly adapted in order to be used by other lawyers on the websites of the Czech Bar Association. And we are very happy for that.
Yeah, that's great. Theodora, any best practice or tips and tricks you can suggest based on your experience?
Yeah, definitely. So my first tip would be to arm yourself with patience, because basically the most common mistake made is our desire to automate everything when we see how it is easy to automate. And this creates chaotic automation in patches, which really afterwards wastes a lot of time in achieving data consistencies, as you said. So strategizing how to best automate all your documents, right? This is the most valuably spent time. It really will save you time and great effort in the future, because you would avoid reworking basically all the logic, and this is where most time is wasted. What's important really to develop in your strategy is basically think about the relationship between document structure, legal logic, and overall customer user experience. Legito has really great features as tooltips or the instructions that help also the clients and Legito users, internal users, the colleagues, to navigate and operate the documents very fast and very independently. And my tip is that you can do all of this during the 30 days free trial. Basically, you can have this for testing and evaluating purposes. Another major thing is the adoption. This is also very important. So once you have your contract templates ready, automated, and you have configured Legito to your likings, I strongly advise you to consider how much time you want to spend in training basically training your colleagues in legal processes. So what I would advise you is to create short videos that addresses individual processes and their corner cases. And for example, if you roll up Legito to many users, so basically you can provide them with a feedback form so they can share their experiences.
Well, that actually brings me really nicely on to my next question to you, Paul. It's really, how do you manage change and ensure new solutions are adopted by the business?
Yes, definitely. I think that one important term that you used right now is adoption, right? So you can implement technology, you can make a great requirement gathering process, you can make a great selection, you can select the best tool in the market, you can also make the best implementation and all. But then it comes the part of adoption. So how can you guarantee adoption? And that involves people. You know, at the end, if you are implementing technology, it has to be centered, people-centered, customer-centered. It depends on what you're trying to implement. So that's why it's very important to have a change management program designed and executed. So change management programs are paramount, are important for these type of situations. Basically, the pillars of those type of programs are: you need executive sponsorship. If you're trying to do something big and change how people work, you will require some executive sponsorship along the way. Maybe also to solve any budget constraints, or to deal with, for example, some people that are reluctant to change. Also, one other important factor of change management programs are communication, right? You have to have communication strategy since the beginning of the project, telling everybody what the project is about, what are the stages, what is the timeline, what are the benefits that is going to be adding to the business or to the law firm. And also you have different audiences. You have to have communications with your stakeholders, you have to have communications with the users, which are the ones that are going to use the tool at the end, but also you have to identify all those divisions, all those people that are going to be impacted in some way regarding this implementation, and also engage with them and explain to them what's going on in the company, why, when, and how. Another important phase of change management program would be training, right? So you can have a very good tool, but you need training. You need a training program, and that's something that is very important to have different training options, like you said, small videos. You can have also available self-paced, but also in person or also custom trainings, and also support. Support is a very important part of change management. Normally people will understand training programs, and you can have a tremendous training program, but then problems will arise in different stages, and you need a support from your vendor or for the partner of your vendor. And that's a very important thing that most of the times when people are selecting a tool, they don't actually look at, right? They just look at the features of the tools and the demo, but then you have to ask questions like what happens if something goes wrong, what type of support is the vendor going to give me, how accessible is this support, what will be the cost of that support. And there's actually a lot of surveys that say that a lot of legal tech implementation programs fail. It's a very high percentage that they fail, and one of the main reasons is because they didn't have a change management program.
Great, thank you, Paul. We've got just under 4 minutes left, so I'm going to ask two last questions. So, Teodoro, the first one for you is just how has document automation assisted with self-service in your organisation?
So basically, at the beginning, I was receiving filled out Word templates, and I really had no idea how similar they were basically to the documents, to my templates, and I constantly was wasting time reassuring myself that there's no risk due to some enthusiastic salesperson. So compared to now, where I basically create templates the way I want, and colleagues use it according to how I want really them to be used. And of course, this helps me sleep better at night, but the most important thing is that this gives freedom to the colleagues to operate independently within the framework of the company policies. And perhaps the greatest thing about Legito is that it really forces us to develop a self-serving and data-driven culture, because it's been a while, and now we see that standardization patterns emerge into legal industry, and this gives our clients a high level of security and really predictability. So these standards, I can say, can only be achieved basically if we use such platforms like Legito, and we basically move away from legacy way of thinking and using limited tools such as email and Word.
Great, thank you. We're good. So last question to Yamila. Teodoro was explaining about how she quite innovatively used the timeline of Legito to kind of track, what clauses have been used and time and stuff like that. You've been quite innovative as well, using Legito to, you have a template to calculate court fees.
Yes.
So it's really innovative. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? 'Cause it's really interesting.
Yeah, well, this is one of the examples of a small piece of document that can change the process rapidly. In our litigation department, we had people spending quite a lot of time preparing the filing to the court. At the end of the proceeding, you have to calculate your costs, and it is it requires some calculations. It's not that advanced, but still it's quite prone to error. And we realized that Legito had computing functions that could help us solve this. So we prepared a template which is not that advanced if you look at it from the text point of view, but has these building functions. And today we basically insert 4 numbers at the beginning of the process, and you get everything calculated, and you are ready basically within 10 minutes. And it's been a big improvement for our support staff, for our litigation department. So I encourage everybody to explore those functions of Legito too.
Thank you. Well, I've had the tap on the shoulder from John, so I think my time's up. But we could talk. What I love is that, you know, all the little things different organisations do just to make innovative little applications with Legito. It's fantastic. So hopefully we can share all these stories over a glass of wine tonight. But thank you very much. I really appreciate all of your time. And I'm 13 seconds over, John.
Thank you, everybody.